for the recording. I have missed it. Right. Right. Thank you. I'm getting continuously answers. If anyone is having problem, let me know. Even in later, it's okay. I'll help you definitely. Now, these IP addresses are grown very fast, and they want to create set of classes. So now think you are in a country in Sri Lanka. We'll think Sri Lanka. Or if you get an example of school, you can't allocate all the students into one single class, right? So all the students we can't due to different reasons, age. We have to separate. Though it's in the same age, we have to uh, change into different classes. So based on the age, you allocated to a grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 10, 13 up to 13. There are grades. Though it's in the same grade, there are different classes. You all are in the same grade 11, but grade 11 A, grade 11A, grade 11B, grade 11C, grade 11D. Likewise, you are separated. Now, if you want to uniquely identify a student in grade 13A, you have to give a separate index number. Then only you are uniquely identified. That number is only for you. Now, if we map this story into IP addressing, it's the exact same situation. Let me give one small announcement. Now, you can't keep a dot in between these decimal numbers. The previous question, my ඉස්සෙල්ලා question එක ගැන කතා කරන්නේ. ඒකේ answer එකේ දරුවනේ දැන් ද්විමේ පාදයේ ලියනකොට, ඒ කියන්නේ ද්විමේ සංඛ්‍යා ලියනකොට බයිනරි වලින් ලියනකොට ඩෙසිමල් දාන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම ෂෙයා කරන්න හොඳ නැහැ නේද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ස්ක්‍රීන් එක. මම මෙහෙම කරන්නම්. මම all එකක් දාන්නම්. chat එක බලන්න චුට්ටක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ. මේ answer එක වැරදි. මේකේ ළමයි dot එකක් තියෙනවා. හොඳද? එතකොට මේක ලියන්න ඕනේ මම මේ answer එක බැලුවේ නෑ. මම හිතනවා මේ answer එක හරියටයි කියලා. මෙන්න මේම dot එක නැතුව තමයි answer එක එන්න ඕන. එතකොට හතරකට කැඩිලා answer එක නැතුව answer එක එන්න ඕනේ ඔන්නෝම. Right? So I have cleared you this case also. Sorry for the interrupt in the class, but it's important. That's why I have interrupt. Now it's clear, right? Right. Now we are discussing about mainly three classes: class A, class B, and class C. Now this class ABC is here and DE also here, which is not important actually. Those are for multicasting and reserved IP addresses. We don't want to think about these things, but I'll go through this class ABC. First, we'll discuss this class A. Now, class A is starting from 0.0.0.0 and it ends with 127 point this thing. Now, class B starts from here to here. Class C starts from 192.0.00 and here. Class D starts from here and ends with here. Class E starts from here. Class E ends from here. Now, you are clear this story? Now, this is like scientific, like theoretical, but for some reason, there's a local host which is allocated for here, and this starts from 1, right? So it goes to up to here. Now, if you see a IP address which is in this range, IP range, that means 0.0.0 to 127 point here to here, that means you are allocated to class A. If you see an IP address in this range 128.2 this thing, then you are allocated to class B. If you are in 192 to this thing, then you are allocated to class C. Now take a second and go to your command prompt back and check where is your IP range. Is that starts from 0, 128, 192, or this in this range, or this range, or this range, or this range. Uh, Check and let me know what is your IP range, what's your IP class. You can check with me. What's your class? Yes, great. You got the point, right? Uh, yes, good. One student got class A, not sure how. Okay, nice. You are clear, right? You are clear what's your class now. Now, it's just looking at the starting point, it's more than enough to get some understanding of your class. Now, this this starting and ending addresses are divided into two parts for the net ID and the host ID. Now, what is this net ID is? It's a fixed bit set of bits. These bits can't change. That means for class A, its 8 bits are fixed. 8 bits means now here it's altogether it's 32 bits. 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 8 bits here, 8 bits here. Right? 8 into 4, 32 bits. So net ID is the first 8 bits. So for the first component, for the first dotted value is fixed. You can't change due to any reason. You can't allocate it a value. But host ID is the IDs. So these are the IDs that we can assign for the computers or the devices. Now we have to understand the difference between net ID and host ID. Net ID 8-bit means the first part is fixed. That can't allocate it for a host computer or a host device or a computer end user. In computer, think like as in computer. These are the host ID. Host IDs can change. Net IDs can't change. Host IDs can change. So these values are changing. Once it comes to class B, net ID becomes 16. That means the first two, here 8, here 8. You can't change. The last two allocated to the host ID. Host ID can change. So you can allocate values. Once it comes to class C, net ID consists of 24 bits. That means first three, 1, 2, 3, 8, 16, 24. First three, you can't change. The only part is you can change is this host ID, the last 8 bits. Now I'll ask a question from you. Now you want to allocate set, you're asked to allocate set of computers. You are, now what is the best solution if you have very large amount of computers in computers or the hosts? What is the best class A, B, or C? Check with me. What is the class that you can have A, B, or C if you have very large amount of? Yes, I'm getting good answers continuously. Yes, yes. Yeah, now the story is like this. Now, since we have large number of host IDs in here, 2 to the power 24, we can allocate it. So that means we can allocate this much of computers for the as the host, because it's allocated. Very large amount of computers can be connected from the class A. From the class B, the maximum amount of computers we can connect is this, and class C we can maximum amount is this. Now the answer should be then class A, because the large number of host IDs means the large number of connections, computer connections in the network. Right? Now you are clear. Now this is the networks. If you want to create maximum number of networks, you have to select class C, because see, you can create this much of networks, but hosts, very limited host. Now I think that you are clear about this. uh, don't think about this leading bit, right? It's a different story. The rest of the table is clear. If anyone is having question about these things, net ID, host ID, and host network, starting address, ending address, and class ABC, let me know please, because you have clear this. Unless there's no point. Anyone is having any question, let me know. Uh, there's an answer, class E. Actually, class E is not defined, right? So please don't use this class E for any case, because class C is reserved. So we don't touch it, right? Ramaha Bandagari Salli wage, we don't touch it. That's it. That's touched by different people. Any other questions? Yes, there's a question. Can you explain difference between number of networks and network and addresses per network? Right. Are we having class? Okay, I'll discuss why we all are in class C. What is number of networks? Number of networks means the networks that we can create. Now, later on, we'll discuss about private and public networks. But for now, like how many networks? That means interconnected networks. How many interconnected networks? Think number of LANs. We'll get simple example. How many officers? We'll get simply how many office areas, LANs can be connected. Think like that. How many networks is that? Number of networks. And in that network, how many computers can be connected? How many networks can be created for each one? Probably for each one, how many computers, or the total number of end computers can be connected? That's this difference between networks and networks addresses per network. There's a question like if it is in every location, IP address is same. No, it depends on the device. Device to device, the IP address is different. We don't get the same IP address for everyone. It's different IP addresses. There's a question like 127. Yes, 127 is localhost. 127. I'm not discussing about this. 127 is reserved for localhost, which is hosting in your own computer. Once you start the web development, you will learn this localhost 127. This is localhost, right? So I don't want to mention it in here. You will learn later on this 127. For now, think it's reserved and no point to think about that. It's reserved 127. That's why I told this. Theoretically, I have mentioned it here. Right. We'll move towards. We have some time, right? Yes, we have some time, and we'll move towards. දැන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආයිත් අහලා තියෙනවා මෙතන මේ networks per address කියන එක මොකක්ද කියලා. හිතන්නකෝ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මෙතන LAN එකකට දාන්න පුළුවන් network කීයක් හදාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක. හිතන්නකෝ office buildings මෙතන හදාගන්න පුළුවන් 128ක්. ඒ එක building එකකට ගානේ අපිට මෙච්චරක් networks හදාගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ host club හදාගන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට computers connect කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? මෙතන තියෙන්නේ කොච්චරක් computer networks අපිට හදාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ කොච්චරක් අපිට ඒ network එක through addresses හදාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් මෙතන පළවෙනි එක fix නේ. මේක fix. හරිද? එතකොට මෙතෙන්ට එක දැම්මොත් එහෙම එතකොට මෙතෙන්ට ගන්න පුළුවන් 255යි 255යි 255. මෙතෙන්ට ආයිසරයක් දෙක දැම්මොත් ආයිසරයක් ගන්න පුළුවන් 255යි 255යි 255යි. ඔහොම අපිට හදාගන්න පුළුවන් addresses. මොකද මේක විතරයි fix. එතකොට මෙතන එක ෆික්ස් එක තියාගෙන ඉතුරු ටික ඔක්කොම වෙනස් කර කර හදන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මෙතෙන්ට එනකොට ක්ලාස් B එකට එනකොට ක්ලාස් B එකේ අපිට 16ක් ෆික්ස්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ කොටස් දෙකම ෆික්ස්. අපිට නෙට්වර්ක් එකක් ගත්තට පස්සේ මේ 128යි මෙතන තියෙන එකයි දෙකම ෆික්ස්. එතකොට චේන්ජ් කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ දෙන්න විතරයි. එතකොට මෙතන 100 sorry එකේ බින්දුවෙන් පටන් අරගෙන 255යි 255යි. එහෙම දිගට රේන්ජ් එකක් යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ක්ලාස් C එකට එනකොට පළවෙනි තුනම ෆික්ස්ඩ්. මේ තුන ෆික්ස්ඩ්. අපිට මේ තුන හොල්ලන්න බෑ නෙට් එකට. ඒ කියන්නේ address network for addresses වලට වෙන් කරලා ඉවරයි. මේක විතරයි අපිට වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරි නේද? පැහැදිලි නේද? Right. Sorry for the disturbance, right? Right. Number of computers. Yes, number of computers means the network addresses. How many addresses per network? How many addresses per network? Right? Okay. We'll move towards and sorry. Maximum number of hosts are 2 to the power into minus 2. Now, in this case, if we get class A, number of hosts. How many number of hosts? Its host ID is 24. So it's 2 to the power 24 minus 2. So this is the maximum number of hosts. What is this minus 2? Unless we can create the addresses, this much of addresses, class A. But there are two reserved. One for network address. The other one is for broadcast address. So there are two separate addresses which is allocated and fixed. We can't change it. Right? We can't change it. Or we are allocated or we reserve those two. These addresses are network address and the broadcast address is reduced from the total network. So the total network is this much, but the maximum number of hosts can be allocated this much of amount. Now, this is the equation for maximum number of hosts. So this is not the addresses per network. So there should be minus 2. Now we'll assign IP addresses based on the class. Now I have allocated this table to you because sometimes you might unable to memorize for now. Now the question is, you are asked to assign suitable IP addresses for the following computer network. So you have asked to allocate the computers for this network. This network is 192, 168, 168, 168, 810, 11 and 9. Now think there are three computers. Think there are three computers. You want to assign an IP address for these computers. What's the question? This is the IP address that you got it, and you want to allocate this IP address range to IP addresses for three computers. Simply. How do you assign these values? First of all, what you have to do is you have to think the class. What is the class in this case? It's 192. So 192 means it started from this range. So it's in class C. It's in class C. If it is class C, net ID is 24. So the first 24 bits can't change. That means 8, 8, 8. The first three, these three can't change. If you are assigning an IP address, you can't change these three values. But you can change this host 8. So you can change this value from 0, 0, 0 or something up to 225. 225. I'll explain again. Now this is the IP address. So this IP address is under this class C because it's in 192. 192 is in class C. For class C, net ID is 24. So you can't change this first three numbers. The last number, the 8, can be changed. So you can change this 190. So we'll allocate this one to 190. So you may see 192, 168, 8, then 192. We'll allocate the first one. The second one, the first three bits are fixed. The first three bits are fixed. The last component is changing 119 to 20. You can allocate the same thing. You can allocate first three is fixed and the last one can be changed. If you want to start from 0, it's okay, you can start from 0, but it's a separate one, so don't use 0, instead of use 1 and 2. Okay, if you want to use 224 and 223, it's okay, you can use whatever the value within this range is acceptable. If you have any question, let me know. Yes, we can allocate 100. Yes, we can allocate 100 if you want, and instead of this 120, if you want 100, you can allocate 100 in here. Any other questions? Clear. Right. Now, the problem is once we created these IP addresses, how to communicate these values? How to communicate these values in between? We have to use a switch. We have to connect to a switch, then only these things can be communicate with each other. So I'll give a small question. You can complete this question and leave a chat for me. then leave for the next section. Next section කියලා තියෙන 10 කාලට කිව්ව නේද? 10 මාටද 10 30 තියෙන්නේ.
ඔව් සර් ඒක 10:30 වගේ පටන් ගන්නවා.
10:30 හරි. මේක කරලා ආන්සර් එක දාලා මේ උඹලා ලීව් වෙන්න. අපි හවස ඉතුරු ටික කරමු. Right now again you have to assign suitable addresses. You can check with me. කියනවලේ? ඔව් කියන්න. මේ උඹලගේ ඊළඟ ලෙක්චර් එක තියෙන ගියාද කට්ටිය නෑ නේද? ඉන්නවා නේද? මේ උඹලගේ ඊළඟ ලෙක්චර් එක තියෙන්නේ 11ට. එතකොට හවස මගේ ලෙක්චර් එක පටන් ගන්නේ මම 1:00ට. පැහැදිලි නේද හැමෝටම? මැත්ස් නේද ඊළඟට තියෙන්නේ ඔයගලන්ට ලෙක්චර් එක?
ඔව් සර් මැත්ස් ලෙක්චර් එක පෝස්ට්පෝන් වුණාද?
ඒක තියෙන්නේ 11ට.
හරි.
ඒක 11ට. එතකොට මම කරන්නම් තව ටිකක් 10:45 විතර එනකම් මම කරන්නම්. එතකොට 1:00ට හවස ලෙක්චර් එක මගේ එකට එන්න. එකට ඒක ඉවර කරලා 11 එක කරලා උඹලන්ට පුළුවන් 1:00ට මගේ හවස එකට එන්න. හරි? Clear, right? Your next lecture will be on 11 to 1. So my next session will be on 1:30 onwards, right? Good. I'm getting continuously good answers. You have selected the correct class and you are assigning the classes. Let me see any questions. Any questions? There is one incorrect notation. Let me share with everyone with you, right? So you can't give an IP address like this. You have to use dotted decimal, right? What you can do, you have to use dots in between these values. So this should be the correct answer. You have to, for binaries you don't use, but for decimals you use, right? So the correct answer is like this with the decimals. Right. We'll continue the lesson now. Now you are clear about this assigning an IP address to a network. So the next point is subnet masking. Usually what we speaking about is default subnet mask. Subnet. Subnet masking. A subnetwork or a subnet is a logical division of an IP network. The practice of dividing a network into two or more networks is called subnetting. So a network is divided into separate parts. So don't think about that definition. Might be like hard to understand. But this diagram would be understand well. So if it is class A, the subnet mask is this portion, 255. That means everything is 1. Everything is 1 in here. Everything is 0. Host is assigned to everything is 0. Then everything is 1. Here, these two components, these 8 bits are 8 ones, and these 8 bits are also 1. So this is 0. The all 8 bits are 0. All 8 bits are 0. All 8 bits are 1. All 8 bits are 1. Again, we'll see the class C. Subnet mask is all 1, all 1, all 1. This is the subnet mask, 1 component. Oh, everything is 1. This is all 0. That means the portion that is allocated for the network, the portion which is allocated to the network is converted to its maximum value, is assigned as the subnet mask. Now this is a logical division. Now for class A, if someone asks about what is the subnet mask of class A, 255.0.0.0. Subnet mask of class B is 255.255.0.0. Class C, 255.255.255.0. Now, if I ask a question, if your subnet mask is 255.255.0, if this is your subnet mask, then what is your class? You can calculate back and check. Yes, it's located in class C. Clear? This is just a logical division, and it has more deep story. But for now, it's more than enough to understand like that. There's a question. Let me check what's the question. Right. Now we'll see this subnetting story. Now this is connected to the internet, and this is the host IP address. Now it's 135. 135 means if you go to here, it allocates to the class B. It allocates to the class B. It allocates to class B. That means subnet mask is 16. Now that means your first two components can't change. 135 to 70, this is fixed. This is fixed. This is fixed. Now, again, if we get into the another IP address range, so it's 122.1, sorry, 2.1. And if you go to here, it's 135 to 70. Yes, 135 to 70. And it's in a different range, 3. And it's 3, 2. But this is fixed. Now, these fixed components are defined based on this subnet mask. Split the IP mask into first and the network addresses. So it confirms that you can't change this component and you can change this component. This is the subnet mask. Usually what we speak as default subnet mask. Don't think about default story. It's another thing. Right. We'll do a practical. What's your subnet mask and what's your class? What you have to do is open your command prompt, type again ipconfig. You may see your subnet mask. You can chat with me. Your subnet mask and the class. Yes, yes. Subnet mask and the class. Yes, I'm getting answers continuously. Yes, nice. Good. Good, good, good. You're clear, right? Now you're clear. I don't want to show you. Yes, the subnet mask. Do you need anyone needs to anyone is having problem to finding your subnet mask and how to convert into how to find your class based on the subnet mask? Anyone? Any question? Let me know. If you want to show me, anyone needs to show. If you want to show, I can show you from my end. Right. Good job. No questions. That means you all are clear. Good. We'll move towards. Let's see. That's a good check. No. Right. We'll move. Network ID. Now, I told there's a network address. Network address is not the network ID. Network address is allocated to the router. For the usually for the switch, you see like that. A network ID is a unique ID value for the entire network. So you can find the unique ID in your entire network, which is known as network ID. Now, how to find the network ID? Now, this is my IP address, 198, 168, 810. And my subnet mask is 255, 265, 265, 0. Now, what I have to do is, we have to perform AND operation. Now, I have shown the AND operation if you are new to the binary solutions, binary values. 0 and 0 answer is 0. 0 and 1 is answer is 0. 1 and 0 answer is 0. 1 and 1 answer is 1. So if you are, I hope that you are using learning Python. Python ඉගෙන ගන්නව නේ මේ දවස්වල. ඉගෙන ගත්තද? Python? Any other programming language? Yes, you are learning Python. No. Python ඉගෙන ගන්න නැද්ද ඔයගොල්ලෝ? කවුද අපේ මේ සමාධි කරනව නේද Python?
R language එක පටන් ගත්තා.
R.
Okay.
right. R වල තියනවා නේද end operation එක.
තාම එහෙම පටන් ගත්තේ නැහැ තාම එක දවසක්.
Right. Okay. You will learn end operation very soon. This is very interesting and very required. It's mandatory, right? This is false and true. Don't think about that much of story if you don't know about programming. But what you have to think is, like, if we add 8 plus 10 answers 18, it's a mathematical operation, right? 8 plus 10, it's 18. Now in this case it's a AND operation because Boolean values are calculating. So these Booleans are calculate using AND operation. If you have 1 in both sides, then the answer is 1. In any other case, the answer is 0. What you have to memorize is, if both sides are 1, answer is 1. If both sides are 1, answer is 1. In any other case, it's 0. Now we'll see one small activity, small thing. Now your network ID is 198.168.80. At a glance, you may realize this: IP address 168.168.8. From the subnet mask, 0 arrives here. If you understood that story, that is more than enough. If your subnet mask is contained 2 zeros, that means these 2 and 2 zeros is your network ID. Let me show you some more small example. Now what I have done is 198 converts into binary value. Then 225 converts into binary value. Then I'll perform AND operation. Now AND operation, both should be 1 for the answer is 1. Now in this case, 0 and 1, answer should be 0. 1 and 1, answer is 1. 1 and answer is 1. 1 and 0 is answer is 0. 1 and 0 is answer is 0. 1 and 0 is answer is 0. 1 and 1, answer is 1. 1 and 1, answer is 1. I have used this table, so you can memorize. So the answer is 0, 1, answer is 0. You see, 0, 1, answer is 0. 0, 1, answer is 0. 1 and 1, answer is 1. 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 0 and 1, answer is 0. 0 and 1, answer is 0. Now, without anything looking at all, if I come up with a conclusion like this, if you do AND operation, if it is everything is 1, the answer is same. If you see 1 1 triple zeros, 1 1 and 0, 1 1 triple 0, 1 1 and 0, extract same, right? After performing this AND operation, nothing was changed. It's exactly same. Why? Because it's 1. Whatever the value in here is only the effective value to here. If it is, since it's 1, right? 0, whatever the value in here, answer is 0. 1, it's definitely 1. We don't want to think about. Likewise, we can calculate continuously this 128 with 225. Then the extract same would come because it's 1. Then again next, then again the last bit is calculation little bit differ because we have to convert this into binaries. Okay, this one converts into binaries, that means everything is 0. So you may see to get an answer as 1, there should be both sides 1. In this case, this side definitely everything is 0. So no point to calculate. Whatever the calculation ends with, the answer is 0. whatever, if it is 1, the answer is after doing AND operation, it's 0. Now you can realize how this answer arrives. This one is this one, this one is this one, and this one is this one. Without any concern, because everything is calculated with the ones. This one is this one, this one is this one, this one is this one. At the last point, because everything is 0, answer is 0. How this 0 comes? Because of this 0. This 0 is assigned to here, then that is your network ID. I think it's clear what is network ID and how to calculate it. If someone asks your network ID, nothing to think about that. See your subnet mask and how many zeros are there. You just add these zeros and the front numbers, then that's your subnet mask. Sorry, network ID. Any questions? Clear, right? Right. Now you can find your network ID. You can press the Windows key, type advanced system settings, then you will have this kind of a screen. Then under the computer name tab, there's a computer name tab. Then you can click the network ID, but you might require a restart. For now, just check, and end of the like today night, today evening, after my session, you can check this and let me know if you have any questions. But go to this screen and check this whether you can access to this place. Any problems that you are facing? Just type advanced system settings. That's it. And go to the computer name under the computer system properties computer name. Then you will see this network ID button. Right, good. I'm getting answers. Good job. We'll move towards broadcast IP address. Now, this is the story. Now, you know how these IP addresses are allocated, and this is the switch. Now, your network ID is 198. It's 0. This is your network ID. If I say this is reserved, that's best. It's located in this switch. Think like that. It's more than enough. And broadcast IP address is the maximum value of this network ID. These are the reserved IP addresses that I told there's -2, 2 to the power n minus 2. The maximum number of hosts can be allocated is 2 to the power n minus 2. This is one. This is the next one. This is the broadcast IP. So what is the broadcast IP is? The network component is fixed and host component is moves to the maximum value that is known as 111181. So it's 255. Why we want to use this broadcast IP address means if this computer needs to communicate a message, if this computer wants to communicate a message, or if this computer needs to share a resource among the entire network, then this computer should communicate this information to this broadcast IP address. This broadcast IP address would be able to communicate with other computers or the other devices that are connected or authorized to receive the information that is shared in this IP address. What is broadcast IP address is the IP address that required to share among the entire network. The entire network should receive the same information. If you send the information to this, think this is a computer, then all these computers are sending that information to this computer. Then this computer would share among the other computers. That's the importance of this broadcast IP address. Now you know how to find the network ID. Once the network ID is the highest value, is known as broadcast IP, or the network is fixed. The host becomes to 255. If it is 0, 198, 100, all right. If your network ID is 198, 198.168 dot 0.0, then your broadcast would be, there are 2 zeros, so it's 198.168 dot, since it's 0, so the host should be changed to the maximum, so it's 255 dot 250, sorry, 55. I hope you got the point of this broadcast IP address. And that is the communication channel for everyone. Gateway. Now, the IP address of the router is known as the gateway, or the network gateway joins two networks. The devices on one network can communicate with devices on another network. Now, what is this gateway will do? Now, we want to communicate in between two LANs. This is one LAN. Now, you know what is a LAN. And there's another LAN. There's another LAN. So, there's a gateway or the router IP address allows you to transfer this communication in between these two LANs. Everyone should communicate via this gateway address. This is the gateway. Very simply think it's a gate. If you want to go to inside or outside, think it's a school or university, there's a gate. Everyone should transfer or everyone should access through this gate. So there's a special number or gate A, gate B, gate C. That A, B, C is the gateway. Now you can find your gateway. Just type again ipconfig and find your default gateway. And you can chat with me, then you leave for today. And please come at 1:30 We'll start the lesson at 1:30. Yes, I'm getting answers. No. Yes, nice. I'm getting continuously answers. Good. Right. Good. Thank you. You may leave and have a small break and ready for the next session and come at 1:30. See you. Bye. We'll meet in 1:30.